If you design, code, write, or ship anything on the internet, the next 24 months of your goals are going to be decided by, at least in part, the cultural campfires you're standing near. I'm talking about how you show up on social media, but I'm not talking about follower counts or even optimizing for the algorithm. And over the last 2 months, this has become very clear. OpenAI bought a live stream show for an estimated $200 million. Netflix paid an estimated $600 million for Ben Affleck's AI post-production startup. 9 of the 100 fastest growing channels on YouTube are completely AI generated. And Meta's daily active users decreased for the second time in its history. In this video, I'm going to cover 3 important things: where media distribution is heading, why big tech is investing into it, and what that means for you and other designers and builders who are trying to make work that stands out. Because if the feed is getting weaker, then the bigger question is, where does all of our work start to gather? Right now, Silicon Valley has a founding myth that the personal computer beats IBM. The internet beats newspapers, mobile beats cable, and creators beat Hollywood. And their pitch has always been pretty compelling. Give everyone the tools, get out of their way, and let the best ideas win. And for the last few decades, that has worked. Hugo Amsalam describes it well, saying, "The rebels became the empire." And that narrative violation is where I started writing this entire video from. Because Silicon Valley spent the last 50 years removing the gatekeepers. And now it's becoming one. Now, the lazy interpretation of all of that is that tech is bad, and I don't buy that. I personally like builders. But the independent distribution promised by social media has entered a new stage. And while we still see the rise of new voices every month, it is different now. Feeds are crowded, and algorithms are optimizing for brain rot and rage bait. And now more and more people are looking for smaller spaces of shared interests to reduce the noise. As a result, the rise of the cultural campfire, a recent comparison made by Mark Andreessen.
Is this better or worse than the days in which, we were all reciting epic poetry around the campfire as our form of media? I don't know. You could have like a big value discussion about, which is better or worse.
And the people nurturing these campfires are not the media trained. These are the working designers, builders, and tool makers. This is the rise of the practitioner class. Look at what's happening in legacy media. It's bleeding people. 21,000 media jobs lost in 2023, 15,000 in 2024, and 17,000 plus in 2025. Cable went from 80% household penetration in 2011 to about 34% in 2024. That was the broadcast era, and it used to be our window into culture, politics, news, but it's not anymore. YouTube is. YouTube has been the #1 streamer in the US for 6 consecutive months, going from 12 to 13% of all US TV viewing. That's more than Netflix. And 73% of YouTube viewing is spent on 30-minute plus videos. The platform that started as a website for home movies is now the biggest thing Americans watch on their televisions. And in a few days, I'm releasing a documentary about the rise of home movie makers, where I followed Colin and Samir for 3 days in New York City.
But backstage, the energy was different. Not bad, just a little tighter than it had been. Colin and Samir had that look people get when the event is going well, but the hard part's coming up. There was movement behind the scenes, people whispering, a few too many phones out. Either something was going wrong, or something big was about to happen. Then Samir walked back on stage.
Stay tuned. But YouTube is not competing with the likes of TikTok anymore. It is competing with television, and it's winning. But even social media is shrinking. Meta's daily active users decreased for the second time since 2021, and global social media time peaked in 2022, which means followers and subscribers are a weaker signal than they used to be. And while the feed and the subscriber list still matter, the cultural impact is moving towards smaller, active, more specific rooms. And this is where tech's latest involvement in media gets noteworthy. OpenAI did not buy a live stream show because ChatGPT needed distribution. They already had it. Their purchase of TBPN, a 19-month-old show, was reportedly $200 million. Anu at Luru had a good take on why this happened, saying, "OpenAI bought a podcast, but what they really acquired was a cultural production unit." This was a cultural campfire, and the storytellers fostering it as writers, hosts, and a daily ritual. These were people with enough trust to make a fast, faceless technology feel like a movement. Then there's Netflix, paying an estimated $600 million for Ben Affleck's secret AI post-production company, the same signal in a different direction. Big media is buying the rails while big tech is buying the characters. And The Hollywood Reporter tried to map this with the AI Top 25 list. These were studios, AI lab CEOs, new age creators, and investors. This was a list of where the institutional power seems to be concentrating. Gossip Goblin was the only pure AI native creator in that top section. And it's not alone, because 9 of the 100 fastest growing accounts on YouTube right now are completely AI generated. And personally, I've never been that interested in consuming AI generated media. Until I saw the weekly recaps produced by Silicon Mania, these weekly snippets roasting Silicon Valley news from the week before.
You fucking stupid, lazy motherfuckers! You don't want to sit down and build a fucking project!
But my point is not about generative AI in media. I'm highlighting that AI content is becoming more palatable to people when it's applied to the cultural spheres that they are deeply invested in. Because these spheres create belonging, and these on-topic campfires encourage people to keep coming back because the value, the people, and the stories keep compounding. And this is no different than what made live streaming popular in 2015, hanging out with a streamer and chatting with the audience. But now it's scaling into these categories with multiple cultural leaders, creating these cinematic universes with recurring characters. You see it on YouTube, where creators like More Pegasus build entire channels just covering the drama between a category of brain rot political commentators like Asmongold and Hassan Piker. And while this particular campfire is terrifying for a number of reasons, this is the reality of new media. And I've been thinking about this for a while, that companies should focus on building these cultural campfires, and they should attract and champion the people telling the stories around them, because anything less than that starts to feel a little artificial. But what does that actually look like? The goal is to give a community a place to breathe and grow around the value you're creating. And when it works, a company or creator starts to feel like a cultural champion, becoming a part of every casual conversation in a way that a head of marketing can't measure with a metric. For example, Framer has built a cultural campfire around design agencies and web publishing by investing into designers and creators before the investment had a clear ROI. And this wasn't just marketing spend, because they've actually productized around helping their customers make more money and combined both of the efforts. And they've created a sort of cinematic universe around this, featuring not just creators, but also companies like Contra, who has been investing into the same campfire of creative agencies and freelancers by hosting these creative competitions and industry benchmarking initiatives. Figma's best version of this is their annual conference, Config, which is the largest organic gathering of high-profile designers. And it's why I go there to throw a 400-person party for designers more than to attend the conference talks. And maybe you're totally unaware of these pockets, which is exactly the point. These are not mainstream, and that is part of the appeal. Even we have a Discord for hundreds of designers and builders that opens 1 week per quarter. We are intentionally anti-growth so that we can maintain the quality of the community. And these cultural pockets are thriving, often creating their own economies and new characters, and they're popping up everywhere. These are not media operators cosplaying as builders. These are people who ship, designers, builders, filmmakers, carving out these niche categories that become the campfire, and in turn, gather more storytellers. Kevin Espiritu, who runs Epic Gardening, a massive media company he built out of his backyard, shared this with me.
If you take too much from the audience without giving enough value, you don't have an audience anymore. You know, like it's really similar to a garden. If you continue to take from that system without adding any nutrients back to the soil, eventually you have depleted soil and nothing grows.
That's the value trade of these campfires. In gardening, it's people like Kevin Espiritu and Chicago Gardener. In biohealth, Andrew Huberman and Mary Claire Haver. In streamer culture, Asmongold and Hassan. The lists go on, and each one works the exact same way. The audiences cross over, they fight, They make cameos. The town square isn't the platform anymore. It's the individual campfires merging together to make cinematic universes. So if you're a company, your principle should be championing, not controlling. You bring storytellers and kindling to the campfire, invest in them, and let them do what they do best and get out of the way. This is why my studio has spent almost $200,000 of my money trying to make documentaries, most of which haven't shipped yet. We're still figuring out the economics. The pace is not where I want it. But I'm trying to build the thing I'm describing without somebody else's logo on it, which is why your support and participation in this community is a really big deal to me. Thank you for being here. Now, there is a dark side to this, and Mark called that out as well.
Each viral social media meme explosion, it basically is this huge spike up, and then it's like this half-life decay, and it lasts about 2.5 days. Each social media basically experience is like a 2.5 day basically panic cycle. The new one appears, a new current thing appears, right, and just takes over takes over the outrage.
And I made the same observation in my documentary about Soren Iverson, who turned his meme making into a multi-million-dollar studio. The cost of our consumption habits are desensitizing us to consequence and nuance. Doxing, moral threats, communities organizing around punishing the wrong opinion. This is what happens when the campfire becomes weaponized. So I'm trying to do the opposite of that. Remain nuanced, good faith, curious, and entertaining. Accelerating at 60 miles per hour, not 100. I'm testing new technology constantly, and you see that here on this channel. And the rate I suggest you move is the rate I move myself, cautiously forward, deliberate, and tied to you and your goals versus someone on social media. And you can expect this every Friday. Me digging into AI, tech, design, and media. My goal is to create media to inspire the curious builder in every viewer, measured by your comments, which I do try to respond to. My podcast, State of Play, keeps growing with a new episode released every Monday or Tuesday. I'll keep sitting down with designers, founders, and media folks to discover how they find purpose and success in all of this. And my docuseries explores this more closely, on location, and with a little style. If you want to see what one of these cultural campfires looks like in person, we are throwing our annual Detach after party at Figma's conference on June 25th in San Francisco. This is hosted by me, Jesse Showalter, Rid, and Ioana Telenu. Or if you want the quieter version of this, our private Discord opens again this summer. A few hundred people sharing how we're designing and building some really great work. So if you're inside a company, ask the question, what does your company's campfire look like? Who are you championing? And where does this community breathe? And if you're creating, designing, or building, ask which campfires are you standing around? The platform-only era is declining, and this word culture is going to become annoyingly as popular as authenticity. But even then, the campfires are where the work will be discovered. The future can be bright, but it does have to be built. So if you're trying to distribute your work, choose your campfires wisely and start contributing. I'll see you next week.